Good afternoon. We are here for our weekly visit with Ray Zinn, the former CEO of Micrel, the founder of Micrel, the author of a great podcast called Tough Things First. Hello, Ray. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks, Rich.
Good. I'm glad to hear that. Okay, so the topic I'd like to discuss today has to do with investing in startups. I don't think it's any secret that you are an investor in various startups. So at this point, I won't get into the specifics. Maybe I will later. But let's talk a little higher level at this point. How do you determine what is a valid startup when somebody comes knocking on your door? And I assume you have lots of people who are looking for money, probably more than you have the desire to work with. How do you determine A, who's legit, and B, who has the potential to be really successful?
Good question. So what we do is we look at the area that they're in, the market that they're serving, and if it's an area that we want to get into, then that's, of course, the first cut. So, by the way, most of the ones that are approaching me are pretty much down the area or in the areas that I want to pursue, which is the technology area. And I don't get into other, non-technical related opportunities. So the ones that I look at are really technical, and they don't have to be, semiconductor necessarily. They can be software or hardware related, and but they have to be, of a technology, have a technology bent to them. So the first thing we do, of course, is we look at the product line that or the business plan that they have proposing, and then is it a scalable business? In other words, is it got legs? So that's the second thing that we look at. We'll also look at the people that are involved in the venture. Do they have the skills? Do they have the competency? Do they have the knowledge and the name and so forth? So we look at that to see if we have the strength of the people that be running it. Then the next thing we look at is their business plan as far as what they see over the next 3 years. I'm not interested in the next 5 to 7 because we all know that's a bit dubious as to whether or not they're ever going to achieve it anyway. But in the first 3 years, we definitely dig into that. I like them to be at least break even within the first year and a half, at least for the business that I want to invest in. And then I also want them to be familiar with the model that we ran at Micrel, and which I've promoted in my book, Tough Things First. And are they willing to follow that that outline, because I believe it's a successful outline, and it's one way I can validate the book is to see if another company can use the same type of business acumen and come to the same results. And so, those are the basic things that we look for.
So what percentage of startups has to be successful? And we'll figure out what success means. But what percentage has to be successful for you to say, I'm doing this right? This is the number that I want to be successful.
Well, you have the short-term, long-term, and the medium-term, type measurements. So in the short term, if their plan is met and they can be break even within a year and a half, then of course that validates what I'm looking for. Also, if the product has legs, in other words, if it will stand the test of time, or is this just a fad or kind of like a just get in and get out type of an opportunity, which I'm not interested in. So we have various ways we can measure their success.
And what is your success rate? How many? What percentage of the ones you've backed have actually been successful?
Well, since we just started a few months ago, I don't really have one that I can point to and say they're successful, because I actually just closed on my first one just a couple of weeks ago. So I'll know in about a year, but or at least the next 9 months. But it's too early to tell now, and so that's kind of the metric we're looking at, is about the next 9 months or so.
Okay. And do the folks who you deal with, do they want you to be involved in their business, or do they just want your money?
No, they want me involved. Generally, I will serve on the board. Don't have to, but generally they want me to serve on the board. So they want some mentoring. If they don't need my help, then they don't need my money. So I think I can be of more help than I can financially, although that's part of it. There's no need of investing my time unless I invest my money. So they kind of go hand in hand. But if they don't need my time, then I'm not interested either. And I had one recently where they just wanted my money. They didn't want my help. And I passed on. Not that it wasn't a good business. It's just that that's not going to help me establish the validation that I want. Okay.
Are you able to talk about what the terms of a deal might be if you were to invest, pick a number, $10 million? Would that buy you a percentage of the company? I mean, I'm not familiar with how these things work. How would a deal typically be structured?
I look for opportunities where I get at least 10% of the company. So that depends upon what the valuation number is. A metric, for example, if they're looking for like a million, then the valuation would be $10 million because I want 10%. If it's $20 million and the valuation, then it's $2 million I would be putting in to get 2%, depending again what their needs are.
But how do you do valuation of a company that doesn't really exist yet?
Well, it's not that they don't exist. I mean, if you look at Shark Tank, I mean, they do have ways of measuring the value of the company. Generally, depending upon the market they're in, 4 times forward revenues, at least 1 to 2 years out, is an easy way of doing it. On the low end, on the high end, 10 times revenue, looking out a year or two. So, some of them are Series A and some of them are seed. The seed investment is early on before the Series A, and so it's a little more difficult when you're doing a seed investment.
Fair enough. Okay. Well, I think we've given some people some very good food for thought, and let's put an end to today's discussion, and we could pick up on this topic in a similar vein when we talk next week. That sound good?
Sounds good to me.
Very good. Thank you very much. That was Ray Zinn. He is the former CEO of Micrel, and I am Rich Nass, the Executive Vice President of Open Systems Media. Have a great day.